Her story's turning into gold. She's taking her power back. Yeah, she's on the rise. Strength in her soul, fire in her eyes. Keeping God first, watch her dreams unfold. Her life's a diamond, breaking the mold. Oh, she's taking her power back. Yeah, she's taking her power back. Harmony.
Welcome to another episode of 20 Minutes of Simple Notes from Rita. Guest today is a licensed professional counselor. She is an educator, and she is the CEO of Ahava Counseling and Consulting. I think I got it right. Please help me welcome Dr. Brittany Collins. Thank you, Dr. Collins, for being here. Someone I have known since she was little.
Thank you for having me.
Yay, hi, as they say. You're so welcome. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'm so very proud of you.
Thank you.
Before we start, I am your accomplishments and your family. So I asked you to come on to discuss high achieving women. What exactly is that?
Yeah, so a high achieving woman is a woman that has put a lot of effort in her success. And we know success is relative, but her focus is really becoming high achieving, successful in all of the things that she does. But there's some nuances to that we could probably get into a little later, of how that can be something great. And then there's also a downside to that.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. And I can kind of see how that could actually happen. So with a high achieving woman, what could the downfall actually be?
That becomes her identity. And she get lost in the successors. It becomes her shield. It becomes her armor. And I think what happens oftentimes is, we've been asked that question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And you start naming off a whole bunch of things. And so when I did my dissertation, I wanted to make sure that I focused on women who were successful. I allowed them to define what success looks for them. But what I found in my research is while they're all still successful, there was some things that was underneath it that was still kind of like trying to grab up at the surface. And it caused a lot of hurt. It caused a lot of silent cries, loud cries, maybe in dark rooms. And I wanted my research to be a little different. I wanted the research to look at these women from a different perspective. What we see a lot in research now is, we look at the women who don't have fathers in their lives, and they talk about how they would be promiscuous or they would repeat the cycle that their moms did, or they would also just not have a good life, But I said to myself, well, I'm one of those people. I had my father in my life physically, but emotionally he was absent. And I said, I'm successful. So what about us? So I looked at women who were successful in that regard. And what I found in my research that was different from a lot of other people is although they felt successful, there was this desire to be healed. And they eventually went out and sought out counseling to help heal a part of the wound that they got from that father wound, or even the maternal wound that created some unwanted things in their lives that they were trying to navigate. But the success, although they had all of the accolades, they had the titles, they had the money, there was still an emptiness. And a lot of the work that I do today in my practice is unfolding, digging deep to the root of seeing what actually is beneath the success.
Have you found that some of the women try to overcompensate for their childhood trauma, I guess you could say?
Oh, yeah.
By being successful?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Achievement is the armor to me becoming.
Yeah.
As a woman would say, right? I think at the end of the day, the rooted issue is not having or knowing purpose. And so that's why purpose is such a huge part of my work, because God created us for a reason. But oftentimes, like I mentioned earlier, we're not asked, who are you? We're asked, what do you want to be? We're asked the what. And so we go on this quest to try to be seen, try to be heard, want to be identified, and we attach ourselves to things. So we go to school and we get our degrees and we become doctors, lawyers, counselors, teachers, actresses, basketball players, whatever the case is. And then that becomes our identity. But what happens when those things
They're not there.
are not there anymore?
Yeah. Yeah, because you'd be surprised who is identify themselves based on what they're attached to. Wow, this is deep. Oh, my.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to hit a lot of women.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Because you've heard that term, the strong woman,
Yeah.
right? And some people wear it like a cape, and until that cape get really, really heavy, and then you're looking like, well, who's going to be strong for me? Who's going to help me? Who's going to look out for me?
Because you've been strong for everybody else.
You've been strong for everybody else. And that's what one of the things that I found in my research, that selfishness, the altruism that we deeply have as women. And I say we because that was a part of my identity for so long. By the grace of God, like I was able to get my own healing and my help. And there's still little parts of me that, I'm still working through as a human, because healing is a process, ING, right?
Yeah.
But I think as long as you are aware and you're integrating the things that you've learned emotionally, physically, spiritually, then there can be change. But yeah, we get to that point to where it's like, well, what's next for me? Who's going to be there for me? And so then there's this thing, nobody's coming to save you. So then what do they do?
What do they do?
They do a lot of things. Yeah, it's so much. I've worked with so many women that then bury themselves in the kids. They bury themselves in the identity of wife. They bury themselves in the roles at church.
I was about to say, that's a big one, I think.
Yep. And the church is made of majority women. And so we find ourselves being busy.
Because I've been guilty. And lately, coming to the realization that some things have to shift and change for my healing and for me to be better. So this subject, high achieving woman, I can see, I don't know why, but for some reason I'm thinking of, there's a Tyler Perry movie, and I think it's The Family That Prays. But anyway, this particular lady, they come up struggling, but then she becomes successful and she gets attached to somebody that's successful. And I believe at the end of the movie, it was stripped from her. So now you're like lost. What am I and who am I? So I think this is a needed conversation. And it's probably going to find, if people are actually honest with themselves, find that a lot of people see themselves that, because it's not always the badge of honor that we think it is to be strong.
Right. It gets tiring.
It does.
It's exhausting sometimes.
It takes a toll on your body.
Yeah, and we experience stress. We experience phases of depression, anxiety. Those things are all real, but I think what's important is people looking to see what's the root of it. And a lot of times the work is so surface level that a person can go through talking to whoever, third party, and then they still feel okay right now, but then later on it comes back because they're not really digging at the root. And so I had to go through this whole quest of like, God, why do you have me here? What is my purpose? And my mother-in-law, before she passed away, we had these conversations, and she talked to me about purpose, and she said that purpose is the original intent in which you were created. And so I kept on thinking about that, and I was praying, and I was like, okay, God, why did you create me? What problem on this earth that you put me here to solve? And he explained to me what it was. And he said, I put you here because your purpose is to help cultivate healthy relationships. And ultimately that's going to bring you back to me. That's going to bring everybody else back to me in some regard. And so I stopped looking at my career path as my identity. Yes, I'm a counselor. That's my trade, but through that, it is a vehicle in which I can help cultivate healthy relationships, whether it's them helping themselves build a better relationship with themselves, whether it is building a relationship with their family members that they may be having issues with, and the list can go on. But ultimately, I think I feel more purpose in the work that I do because I am operating in my purpose, and I don't have to feel so bad about what I didn't have growing up. not having my dad there emotionally, yeah, that was a big part. But there was a time when I moved back to Texas and God said, this is his second chance of fathering you. And our relationship has thrived so much.
Yeah.
And I was able to see God's hand just like shift the entire thing. And so that is the basis of my work, because I see people for who they are. No judgment. It is a safe zone, because I understand, like, we all go through things,
Right.
and we don't have to keep wearing this cape. We can take it off. We learn how to mask because we don't know how to deal. We don't want people to see us falling apart, but you don't have to fall apart if you learn how to heal properly.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's true. I think we're afraid of what people might think,
Oh, yeah.
especially when we've lived up to a certain
Mm-hmm.
image all of these years.
Mm-hmm.
And to hear you talk about your own struggles, and I think sometimes purpose is really birthed through your pain.
Oh, yeah.
That's
agree with
kind of
that.
like the two P's. I call them the two P's, pain and purpose.
Yeah.
So normally where you experience most of your pain is an area that God wants to use you in.
Mm-hmm.
So to hear you say that when you moved back, then your relationship with your father, it flourished.
Mm-hmm. It
But
did.
it actually came with you actually seeing areas in your life that actually needed to be healed.
Yep.
So that is so good. So with the high achieving woman,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about the downfall of it, like the pitfalls. What's the good side of being a high achieving woman?
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of operating in your gifts, right?
Yeah.
A high achieving woman is strong. She's mighty. She's authoritative. She's smart. She has all of these great qualities. And it's for the world to see, especially when it's been suppressed over the years.
Yes.
You know, women was seen as secondary, but we have so much authority that we show up in ways that we're only allowed in certain spaces. And so sometimes that quest to become that woman is also fueled from what people are saying that you can't be, or what you
Right.
shouldn't be.
It's like a proven.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, a high achieving woman she's a bad girl.
Yeah.
She is a bad girl. And I don't ever want a woman to feel bad for being high achieving. I think it's
Yes.
okay,
Mhm.
which is interesting because some people say, like, oh, you have to calm that down if you want a husband. And my philosophy is no, sir. I want whoever God has it for me to
Yeah.
be on the same page. And that's why I always say, you want your purpose partner. You want to be able to be aligned so
Exactly.
that they understand where you're coming from. And if they're not doing the same thing, they're respecting it. They're supporting you in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good. It's a good thing to be a high achieving woman. There's a good thing and a bad thing to, both sides to things,
Yeah.
but you have to find a balance.
And I think so as well, because it's accomplishments, and then especially when you've come from an area or people or family that may not have had those things, didn't have the education that they desired, didn't have the opportunities and employment that they desired. Now you see your child
Yep.
going and they are achieving those things, but like you said, it's a balance.
It's a balance.
It's a balance. So I think this is a good topic because there are a lot of people that they're falling victim.
Yeah.
I want to say that, to trying to get validation, and they're getting it through their successes.
Yeah.
And I think also there is a misconception about what success is. Think society has done that. Social media has done that. We compare ourselves to what we see on social media. If I have this, then I'm successful. If I have this house, if I have this husband, I'm successful. If I don't, then I'm not as successful based on the world's standards.
Right.
So I'm glad you mentioned purpose and how purpose has it's really the foundation.
Yeah.
And that a high achieving woman is a bad woman.
Yeah, she's a bad
She's
woman.
a bad woman. And I think when she enters rooms, people know.
Yeah, she
So
commands the room.
She commands the room. And that was going to bring me to my next question. Where does confidence come in?
I always say that sometimes confidence is hidden, because of the insecurities. But confidence is there. You just have to, for some people, it comes naturally. I'm not one of those people. Like, I'm very, I was gonna say I'm mild-mannered. I am until somebody, push my buttons. But when it comes down to, just kind of showing up, I am that person that just kind of, come and I sit, I observe, and then when my time, I go for it.
Yeah.
Some people just come in, busting through the seams. The confidence is there. God gave it to us, right? But sometimes the insecurities of what's happened throughout life kind of overshadows it. But when you start really operating in that purpose, you start rising up, and that confidence starts to like shine more than anything else. And I think that that's what it comes from. Humility. It comes from being able to know who you are and be confident in the person that you're supposed to be, because when you don't, you're comparing yourselves to other people in the world, right? Which is why I say success is subjective. I wanted the women that I was researching to define what it looks like for them, and everybody's was different.
Yeah.
It was different. But it was so beautiful because it all made them feel purposed. You know, and so I think that confidence really just exude when you are able to just walk boldly in who you are.
And people can pick up on it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they can pick up on it. And I think sometimes when they do, this is another question too, intimidation. Because you mentioned purpose partners. So if there's a lack of confidence, or you're easily intimidated by people. So do you think that suppresses sometimes the confidence and the gifts that actually women could really show if they're not?
It could.
Yeah, if they're not really confident in who they are.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with women, we're looked at the ones that has to be chosen, right? And so in the aspects of relationship was interesting, because 2 questions that I asked in my research was looking towards how women make decisions and life career goals, and then how they're making decisions in relationships. And so sometimes women are looking for, I looked at the father wound. So sometimes women who experience the father wound, they are looking for their dad in a man, qualities that they wish that their dad could uphold in a man. And if they show so much of who they are and it makes the man respond in a way that's negative, then yeah, it might make her retreat. Or if it's the other way around and she shows up boldly who she is and it makes the man insecure, it may make her act a little bit more outwardly and might be seen as aggressive,
right?
You know, it's just like it's not a win-win.
Because I was going to use another term, but that was so nice of you. Yeah, agree.
Yeah.
Really, girl, you are on camera.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I love to see women achieving. I love to see women going after it and making their mark in the world, especially in areas that you know God have called you to.
Yeah.
And I think when we walk in the purpose He called us to, we always come out on top.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Always come out on top. So this is a good conversation, and hopefully it will inspire women that have been kind of retreating to come to, don't hide who you are, what you're capable of doing to make other people feel comfortable in their insufficiencies, because they choose not to.
Right.
Because I've had this conversation. Where I am does not negate where you are and where you're able to be. It's a choice of you making the same decisions or steps, however that's supposed to look like, for you to get from where you are.
Yeah.
So I wanted to bring out the negative of high achieving women and the positive, because I don't want people to think that being a high achieving woman is something that should be looked down on or frowned upon, because it's not. But as you said so beautifully, there is a balance.
Yeah, there's a balance.
There has to be a balance.
Absolutely.
So if you were to leave a simple note from Dr. Brittany Collins with the audience, that's something that you want them to really take away from, possibly work on themselves, because I heard you talk about childhood, or maybe lack of fathers or mothers being there, and they can be there physically but not emotionally.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. Matter of fact, before you do that, let me ask you a quick question on that.
Okay.
So what does not being there emotionally look like?
It's a good question. A father can be physically there to provide, protect from the surroundings, and that's what we see him. But when we're looking for a father to cater to the need that we have, being vulnerable, making it a safe space, talking about the emotions, educating on the emotions, comforting, when you're in your emotions, making the child feel safe to talk and to grow and develop and become emotionally mature. But first, he has to be that first. And so that's what that emotional safety looks like from a parental figure. And because there's this whole thing with attachment theory, when it's interrupted from childhood, it just trickles down that line, and then you become insecure in your own self and your own attachments growing up in the different relationships that you have.
And that's good information, because I think that's something that people like in our community, some of us, we've unfortunately have experienced that.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome providers.
Yeah.
Always in the home, taking care, but when it comes to the emotional part, go to your mom.
Yep. But then you see your mom yearning for this love from the man who's supposed to teach that love.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, what is that? Right? Well, I can't just rely on her because she's also hurting. She's also bleeding.
It's like a depletion. Yeah. So this could be a whole nother conversation.
Yes.
But so if you would leave a simple note, Dr. Collins, with our audience, what would the takeaway, simple notes from Dr. Collins be today? And you can actually.
Yeah. So my name is Dr. B. I am purpose here to cultivate healthy relationships. And I want to leave with you, no matter what you've experienced, no matter what you've been through, it is your birthright to get everything that God has for you. You will not be able to birth what God has in you while you're still bleeding from the wound that you are carrying from childhood. So it is your birthright to heal. Make sure that you heal.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for discussing High Achieving Woman with me on today. That's a good conversation, and it brought out things that I didn't know. I didn't even know that there was a term for it, if you will, but actually the balance part is something, and then not identifying yourself with your successes. That's really good, and I really hope people will take that away on today. So thank you so much for being with me for another 20 minutes of Simple Notes from Rita. If you are one that's just watching and you have not subscribed, we're asking that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you know when new episodes drop. Also, if I drop in with another video, and it may not necessarily be an episode, but it could be an announcement, something that's coming up that the people are subscribed to or privy to, that way you can get that information and you won't be late getting the information. So if you would, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, tell someone, share it, and whatever you do, continue to be blessed. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Oh, she's taking her power back. Yeah, she's taking her power back.